Creeks, a Dawson's Creek podcast. The show where four millennials who missed the boat 25 years ago take the dive for the first time. Join us as we experience the series with a fresh perspective week to week and see if our adolescent experiences match up with Dawson and the gang. My name is Cody.
I'm Stella.
I'm Mallory.
And I'm James. Welcome to Freaks and Creeks. We got some Capeside correspondence this week, I believe.
Yeah, we got a really sweet review on Apple Podcasts from user Felicity38. To sum it up, she said, I have consumed so much DC content, and yet this podcast has been able to surprise me with different takes and opinions on things I've never heard before. As some of the big Dawson's Creek podcasts are entering later seasons, this is the podcast to listen to. That is so sweet. Thank you so much. What a kind review.
Do you think the viewpoint that they're referring to that they don't often hear about has to do with vampire lore? No one's talking about it.
It's true. I wonder. True. Yeah, when Cody shared this in our podcast Slack, it was so nice to read. So thank you so much. It was kind of like, I don't know, a little emotional. I don't know if you guys, it made me feel like a little weepy. It was just weird to be recognized by somebody we don't know saying such nice things about the show that, you know, I think we all love the show, obviously, but it's crazy. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote that.
Oh, Cody. You stinker.
The first of the Friday the 13th pranks.
Ooh, good one.
Wow, I love a good Friday the 13th prank. I wanted to just throw this out there. We received an email last week from, or for our last episode, I should say, from Luis from Brazil. He's the one who he kind of gave us that tip on Pacey, on Joshua Jackson. He's not just Pacey, being from Canada. So I wanted to, officially shout them out. Thank you for that. They also wanted us to give a shout out to all of the Joey and Pacey fans on the /Dawson's Creek subreddit, or as we call them, the Joe Pay fans, and that's going to be a name that sticks, I think. Shout out to the Dawson's Creek subreddit. It is a place that I don't go because it is so filled with spoilers, but I do appreciate everybody's enthusiasm. Have you guys been to the Dawson's Creek subreddit?
No.
Once I did, and then I realized that it's not a good place to be if you don't know anything about Dawson's Creek. So ran out of there.
Yeah, I appreciate the enthusiasm of everybody there. There's a lot of really good content, but man, if you haven't seen the show before, it's like, remember that time when Joey kissed somebody in this episode? And you're like, actually, no, but now I know it happened.
Seems like that's what I saw when I went in there. Every post is like, I can't believe Mitch stabbed Gail.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, no, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, so I'd like to spend more time there, but I guess it's just going to have to wait until 10 years from now when we finally finish recording all of our episodes. Well, sweet. This week we're talking about Season 1, Episode 11, The Scare. It's the only way you can say that. This episode was released on the spookiest day of the entire year, which is May 5th, 1998. Don't know why, but I do appreciate it. The synopsis is, while Dawson is preparing to celebrate Friday the 13th, a serial killer is rumored to be headed to Capeside. And this episode was written by our old friend Mike White, longtime best friend, I think, of all of ours.
Can't wait for him to get on the show.
We love Mike. But what I was so surprised to see and didn't really realize it at first, but it was directed by a gentleman by the name of Rodman Flender, which...
What a name.
Yeah, it's definitely
Great
not
name.
a name made up by an alien who's visiting Earth to try to gather information.
It's like
Sounds like a Simpsons name or something.
it reminds me of Mrs. Doubtfire when Robin Williams is looking around the room at certain things to just create a name.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dennis Rodman? Okay.
Blender, no. For Lender, there we go. But Rodman Flender, besides having a amazing name, he directed several things which I really, really appreciate. Most importantly, though, is the movie Idle Hands with
Woo!
Does anybody remember Idle Hands?
Love that movie.
It's got Devon Sawa. It's got Seth Green. It's got a few other people. I think it has Jessica Alba, a very young Jessica Alba. In this movie, Devon Sawa becomes possessed by some kind of demon, and he has to cut his hand off because it's taken over his hand. And he puts the hand in the microwave to kill the demon, but it doesn't kill the demon hand. And then the whole rest of the movie is this high school hijinks of this possessed hand plaguing the town and like killing. I think it's killing people. I don't actually remember. It's been a long time, but I watched this movie so many times as a kid.
It was a Comedy Central staple. I feel like they would play it every afternoon. Every time I would come home from school, it was airing.
It was so good. I mean, it had so many amazing practical effects. Like Seth Green as a zombie for, I want to say like most of the film, and he's in corpse makeup for all of it. And I mean, it doesn't look great now, but back then it looked fucking incredible.
Yeah, and his friend is Foggy from Daredevil, and he has this, like his throat slit. And I just remember there were scenes that were really disgusting of him trying to eat, and it would just come out of the slit hole. It was very funny.
But he also, Rodman Flender, he wasn't just a horror movie guy, which I think is maybe why he got pulled in to direct this episode. They're like, hey, we want some spooky chops on this one. He also directed 2 episodes of The Office, the U.S. Office. Yeah. And
were they Halloween episodes?
They were not. The Whale and Lice, which I don't remember either one of those episodes, to be honest. I've watched the show a lot, but don't pay attention to the episode titles. From 2012 and 13.
Yeah, it seems like most of his credits are just TV nowadays.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you're a TV director, you don't have much of a voice, and it's more of like putting out the rest of the product that's already been solidified.
Right.
But, I mean, he has a really impressive IMDb.
He does. Yeah. Leprechaun 2.
He did direct the Conan O'Brien documentary.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Rodman Flender, I mean, what a nice little treat. I wasn't expecting it. It really made me happy to see. And like I said, I didn't recognize it at first until we were doing research for the show. And then I was like, Rodman Flender, that's such a fake name. What did they do? And it blew my mind to find out that one of my favorite childhood movies was directed by this guy.
It's been a long time since I've watched Idle Hands, but in my memory, that movie rules. And I feel like, you're always asking people, like, what's a hidden gem for the horror genre? Because people only talk about 50 movies, and then there's nothing else. If you haven't seen Idle Hands and you like horror comedy, you got to give it a shot.
It's hilarious.
It's a fun time.
It's fun. We're going to watch it. But yeah, I mean, this episode kind of has a little bit of everything. I mean, it's got some incredible supernatural evidence that I believe, completely solidifies every theory that we've been sharing. It's got incredible cinematography. I loved the way that this episode was shot. They were trying so many different things. They really made it feel new and unique and different. We've got some new characters. We got a few new locations. I was so pleased with this episode. What about you guys? How did you enjoy your watch?
I loved it. I thought it was so fun. I actually enjoyed Dawson in this episode.
Yeah, he's a little stinker.
Agree.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, okay, I kind of like you. Don't think that'll last, but it was just fun seeing him be silly.
But you liked that he was a little stinker?
Yeah. Okay. I felt we can get into it more, but I just felt like it didn't seem he was so obsessed with the Jen situation that he was just having fun and being maybe who he was without before he met her.
Right.
Yep.
And he just seemed kind of a fun, silly guy to be around.
Had the exact same note. In my the exact same thought. It was like he was less obsessed with Jen, and even though he was annoying because he was doing all these annoying pranks, it was just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody has some different thoughts.
I guess.
Well, just on that point, I mean, I obviously loved this episode. I'm a genre person, so this was a lot of fun. But to say everything was targeted against Jen. He was going, or at least from my point of view, he was going so overboard on everybody because he knew he was excluding Jen, and he was peacocking for Jen to notice that she was the only one that wasn't getting these pranks.
I didn't get that at all.
I didn't get that at all either.
No. I felt like we were seeing more of his personality just with his friends.
Yeah.
He played you guys like a fiddle.
Oh man, no.
I completely
think
agree
so.
with Cody. I think that he
interesting. That's so interesting. Yeah.
I mean, we have talked about this show and how it conveniently forgets the episodes all the time. And this episode actually demonstrates that on two sides. It conveniently forgets Jen and Joey basically being mortal enemies because they decide to be friends again. But then it also, what the fuck were we just talking about?
Dawson.
We're talking about Dawson's Creek.
Oh, shit.
Where am I?
How we thought he was being more like himself and less obsessed with Jen, but
so it forgets that Joey and Jen hate each other, but then it also remembers that Pacey gave Dawson this whole like how to nag your ex-girlfriend into loving you again, basically by excluding her.
But I feel like that's in this particular episode, that's not what it felt like to me. It was more like he's like, this is my favorite day, so this is like, that was, I don't know.
I'm right there with it because he looks like he's having fun.
He's like having fun. It's not. Yeah.
But the thing that brings me back into being like this fucking guy is when they go up to the bedroom and his master plan works. And they put on that horrible little slow jam and he touches her face and they almost kiss. Spoiler alert. But it was just like, oh, he knew this is what was.
It didn't seem like his main plan though. It was kind of like I feel like it was kind of like an afterthought to his.
A two birds, one stone, if you will.
His yearly tradition of doing this, and then
no, this is good. So we're talking about how, like, would Dawson have done what he had done if there wasn't the cliff situation, and if he wasn't going to be able to like get Jen as the side extra piece of him doing these pranks. He had his cake and ate it too. It's like if Jen didn't exist, would he still be having a goofy fun time if he's pulling all these pranks? Probably. But since Jen is there, it's like, well, maybe I'll have my cake and eat it too. He'll be able to do these things. Do I agree? I don't know. I don't know. You're here to convince me. I think he's a devious little shit. So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I don't think that he necessarily planned for it to go this way, but I think he knew that he was excluding Jen and that he knew that would have some kind of impact on her. And he was probably looking for that the entire time. Like, is this hurting her? Because if it's hurting her, then maybe I still got a chance. That's how I see it.
I did not catch that.
There's even a part when they're I think it's in the cafeteria. We're going to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
But when they're in the cafeteria, he gaslights her.
Yeah,
when
for sure.
she's like, well, are you going to scare me? And he's like, no, I don't think you're particularly interested in being scared or whatever. And then just kind of like blows it off in a weird way that you just like know that he's like using it as ammunition to like get under her skin and exclude her.
Not my read.
Yeah, not my impression either. Okay, let's maybe start and then we can kind of get into it more.
I don't think I want to ever start. I just want to
But I also just want to talk about how I don't think this is a perfect episode. I do have a lot of complaints about it, but I did love it from having fun. And there's just it might be just a millennial thing and older, but for me, I think I get a lot of nostalgia when I see a horror movie that's shot on film specifically, and it makes me think of like when I was in 6th grade and it'd be a sleepover and I'd go rent to like a spooky movie at Blockbuster, we're having a slumber party, and it looks like shit, and it's teenagers getting killed. It just like warms my heart, baby. And oh God, do I love a good Halloween episode of a sitcom that I like, even though this has nothing to do with Halloween, and for whatever reason, this has to do with Friday the 13th. Which makes no sense. Also, we talked about how it being an annual event. If you Google how many Friday the 13th there were in 1998, there's 3. So how exhausted must Dawson be?
That makes total sense. There isn't always a Friday the 13th, so it's not necessarily annual. It's just like whenever there is one, I guess.
But imagine how exhausted you must be to keep tabs on that.
Yeah. When's the next one? I got to get planning. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah.
Is it time?
In honor of the Gregorian calendar providing our titular hero with the culturally scary day of Friday the 13th, Dawson and Joey celebrate by watching, hey, you guessed it, the Kevin Williamson scripted I Know What You Did Last Summer. Joey turns the movie off, and an argument ensues between her and Dawson on the merits of the horror genre. Switching the TV to cable, a news story tells the tale of an East Coast serial killer's latest victim being discovered, further emphasizing Joey's distaste for the film genre, when our reality is pretty dark as well. When Joey changes the channel and gets sucked into the drama of Jerry Maguire, Dawson disappears. A frightened Joey looks for him, only for a masked Dawson to pop out underneath the bed with a ghoulish fright.
Yeah, I believe